Hi, it's Up1975 and today I'm bringing you an Elite Dangerous video on Xbox One. Now today's video is a bit longer than normal. That's because there's a lot I want to discuss. Now, as you can see from the footage, this is just me chasing off a couple of guys that attacked my random teammate when I was at the community goal. So I'd winged up with some random people just to do bounty hunting. It's always better if you wing up with the guys at the res sites, because that way you're not stepping on each other's toes, stealing each other's bounties. And even if you're not actually going to then sit together and bounty hunt, it just means that you're not in danger of like stealing someone else's bounty with a stray bullet, or worrying about if you're attacking a ship that they've already attacked. So if you wing up with everybody in the res site, it goes a lot smoother, causes less misunderstandings. But while I was AFK, the guy I was winged up with got attacked by these two cobras. So I just chase them off, and it is a long clip because they run away, I chase, it goes on and on and on. Eventually I do drive them both off with a reasonable amount of hull damage on both, but not before I exhaust a lot of ammo and time chasing them. However, it is a good background for this, because what I want to talk about is the state of PvP combat in Elite Dangerous. Now there's several topics that I want to touch upon. I want to start a discussion on Reddit and in the comment section down below, and if you do comment, I want to know what your stance is. Are you a PvPer, PvE guy, someone who doesn't care about combat, just a space trucker? From your perspective, how do you think things are? Now personally, I think the state of PvP in Elite Dangerous is not the best. There's several issues that cause it to be a real problem area. One is engineering and access to engineering. The fact that the more time you've got invested, the more powerful your ship is. Creating a power curve, instead of being pay to win, it's grind to win. If you're willing to do more grind, you're going to have a more powerful ship. My ship, this one, is fully upgraded. It's all tier 5 upgrades. I think apart from the power plant, which is in tier 4, but that's because if you put a tier 5 in there, it overheats even quicker. And it doesn't need the extra power considering I'm using multi-cannons. But it's a fully upgraded FDL. Now, if I was to come up against a new player who doesn't have horizons, doesn't have any engineering parts, this ship will kill them incredibly quickly. It could be argued there is some pay to win, because you have to have horizons to have access to engineers, and if you haven't got horizons, you really can't engage in PvP combat. I know there are a few people out there that are like, oh no, a stock ship can do this, that and the other, and it's like, seriously not. With all the will in the world, one of the better pilots in the game in a stock ship versus me in an engineered ship, and I'd still favour myself, and I'm a terrible pilot. Engineering makes a huge difference, especially in the terms of manoeuvrability and speed. The speed some of the engineered ships can go is just so much quicker than the stock ships. It just makes it impossible for a guy in a stock ship to compete. I do think that's an issue, and I think engineering should be open to everyone who plays the game. Having it locked, I understand that it's part of planetary landings, but there has to be some way around that. There has to be some way of allowing players, any player who plays the game, to have access to engineered modules. Whether that be another way they can get them, like buying them for really expensive amounts of money at space stations, I don't know, but there needs to be something to allow all players to have it, because at the moment the model could be argued it's got a slight pay to win element. I'd argue it's not a massive one, because I don't think anyone's playing the base game of Elite Dangerous, or very few people are. If you play regular, you've got horizons. It's kind of a must-have update, but I'm not going to argue the point that if you haven't got it, it would be a major disadvantage for you to do PvP combat. The second issue I have with PvP combat at the moment is combat logging. Combat logging is the absolute bane and plague of PvP combat. Somebody said to me recently that if they hit someone with a grom bomb, they're almost guaranteeing the person combat logs. Because once they realise you've got missiles that can stop them jumping away, they will combat log to avoid destruction, because they fear destruction more than anything. It's a very bizarre situation. FDev made a big song and dance about combat logging once upon a time, but then we hear nothing for a long time. It's a really odd community because I make videos naming and shaming cheats on, PUBG, Call of Duty, any other game. I would quite happily name and shame a cheat. Yeah, I get into trouble if I do a video on Elite Dangerous naming and shaming someone for cheating, which is really odd. I get told it's against the community guidelines and I'm actually the person doing something wrong, and the poor combat logging cheating person is the victim. I find that hard. I find that a real stretch. There is a difficulty with combat logging. It's difficult to identify as combat logging. It could be innocently the person's disconnected from the internet. I mean, my internet's rubbish, so I've not had it happen yet, but there is a good chance one day down the line I might get disconnected from the internet while in the middle of combat. Fortunately, it's not happened so far, so there's no way anyone's got any footage of me combat logging because it's never happened. But if it did happen, I disconnected. If I genuinely disconnected in the middle of a fight from the internet, I would seek the guy out that it happened to, and I would say, look, if you want a rematch, come destroy me or whatever, because it would be not an intentional thing, and I would have no problem with allowing someone to destroy my ship if the only reason I escaped was my internet died. I would just park in front of the guy and let him blow me to pieces. Wouldn't bother me. I've got billions of credits. I'm not worried about losing a ship and suffering a rebuy. It makes me laugh. In Elite Dangerous, the penalty for dying is so slight, so small, and yet we still have people combat logging. If in the game you lost like half your assets if you died, or if it was like Ready Player One where you completely lost everything, I could understand combat logging to a certain extent, but the cost of rebuy is minuscule compared with most commanders' bank balances. I mean, there are rare occasions when you run into a new player that's flying without their rebuy, but then they're just stupid and they're taking a massive risk. On the whole, most people can afford their rebuy and then some, and yet combat logging still plagues this game. It's still a massive issue, and FDev really don't do enough about it. They really don't engage with the community. They really don't push an anti-combat logging agenda. They don't really seem to be involved. We've gone through the whole Beyond update and there hasn't really been anything that's even slightly addressed combat logging from FDev, leaving us with a PvP game that's in a state where PvP can be circumnavigated very, very simply and seemingly without punishment. And then if you shame the person for cheating, if you make a video exposing, I can make a video of some guys that have combat logged 10, 20, 30 times in front of people. There's video footage of it that's been recorded and documented, and yet still they can do it. And I couldn't make that video of showing them logging out on multiple occasions doing it, making the assertion they were cheating, because that would be me naming and shaming a member of the community or witch hunting, which are both community guideline violations. It is a bizarre situation. FDev have got to do something, because it's just a joke at the moment. Anyway, that was longer and more ranty than I thought it would be on that topic, so I apologise. I got a bit sidetracked. The third thing I want to talk about is the new missiles and large modules. Have they made that much of an impact to PvP, the state of PvP? Have large torpedo launchers meant a lot more people using those anti-shield torpedoes? Let me know in the comments down below what you think of this video and what you think of what I've been saying. And that's all. Thank you very much for watching.